Hello, this is Annie from Smart Press Juice. I'm with McKenna Wheeler from Dr. Fontaine's office in San Diego. McKenna is the lead health coach at Dr. Fontaine's office. She's also a dietitian and a really, really experienced nutritionist. She's someone that I love to talk to on a regular basis and share nutrition research. She's so incredibly knowledgeable about food. She's someone I personally would go to for help. So you guys are really lucky to be able to spend a little time with her today. So welcome, McKenna.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Annie. I'm really excited about talking just about vegetables and staying healthy during the holidays.
Yeah, that's a huge one right now. I wanted to ask you specifically what your top tips were for staying on track during the holidays, but also I definitely want to address a little bit about immunity. Like I told you, I think I have, I was exposed to RSV during a business retreat recently where 25 of us all got sick. So this one's like a huge one, especially as the weather's changing. So tell me all the things. What are some things that people should watch out for as the seasons start changing and we're moving into the holidays?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing being is the houses are all full with like Halloween candy and fun desserts. Obviously, everybody's gifting like fudge to each other, and that's all fun. But when it's in the house, it's really easy to just kind of continually snack on things throughout the day. So I think the biggest thing being is like, can you get in those greens? Can you get in that like good quality protein that will keep you full so you have less of that desire to snack?
Yeah, that's really important. Like one of my favorite tricks I always say is like before I go somewhere where I could be naughty, I do Protini and I do the pineapple chia cleanse together as a drink. And sometimes it's just in water or just in nut milk, and I don't even add any fruit. And that way, like I have like it sort of takes my desire to be naughty down a couple notches, and I could still have a couple bites, but not go off the rails.
Right? Because yeah, you go to wherever you're going and you feel kind of full. So that way, if the bread basket comes around, you're one you can have the option to choose a piece or not, but you're not like starving and ravenous to the point where you're eating like 4 or 5 pieces of bread before the meal actually gets there.
Yeah, definitely. Do you have any tips for like when you start going to these holiday spreads and all of these crazy like holiday buffets? I'm really looking forward to some of them myself. But do you have any tips for like what we should eat or what like I have so many questions for you, but do you have any tips for just how to approach it in the first place?
Yeah, so before a party, I always say like try to get a little bit of something in your system before you go. So a little bit of protein or some veggies before you go is always helpful, just because when you eat healthy proteins, you actually suppress neuropeptide Y. Neuropeptide Y is a stimulator of appetite. So if you're really hungry and you're eating a lot of sugar and there's like a high stress environment, you tend to have a lot more neuropeptide Y. So having that like protein can help decrease that a little bit.
Ah, really smart. So let's say like when you're actually looking at the holiday spread, is that the first thing you should go for is like one of the proteins that are on the table?
Yeah, it's really awesome to see how blood sugar works in the body. Typically, I tell patients you start with the veggies and start with the healthy proteins because that actually blunts the blood sugar response. That high fiber kind of makes like a gel-like substance in your stomach. So
Mhm.
any sugars you're eating, let's say you do decide to have a piece of pumpkin pie or go for something fun, you're able to blunt how quickly you absorb those sugars.
Oh, that yeah, that's really smart because yeah, if you let fiber sit around, like I actually have my morning smoothie, I had to like adjust my camera away from it because it's sitting right there and it's gotten so thick. But I have read before that when you want your fiber to do that to get really clumpy and jelly like because that's
Mhm.
what it does, it's real magic. Does it, so if you drink your fiber and it hasn't gelled yet, does it gel in your stomach later?
Yes, it will gel in your stomach. So it's kind of cool as a scientific experiment to leave the fibrous juice out to see how it thickens up because that's exactly what it's doing in your stomach.
Oh, that's so great. And that's why you get that feeling of fullness. Oh my gosh, it makes me want to drink it before I do anything now. And that
Right?
way, yeah, I've been actually reading this book called written by the Glucose Goddess. She's like really
Yeah.
interesting account. She always says put some clothes on your carbs. And a lot of times she's really meaning fiber. Like when you have that jelly-like substance in your stomach, it actually does such miraculous things for you. So how about what does it do for fat, for instance? Because a lot of these holiday meals are really fat heavy.
Yeah, so fat is one of those foods that keeps you satiated for a really long time. But when you go to a holiday party, there's so many, cheese platters and obviously all the desserts, which are high carb, also really high fat. The combo of those together really keeps blood sugar up for like an extra long time. So I always tell people fiber is that anti-nutrient that kind of inhibits you from absorbing all those sugars. It kind of has that protective, coat, like you were saying, for food. So I always tell people, if you get to the party and you see that there's a veggie platter, start there. And then, maybe you have a little bit of proteins and things like that, but don't go too heavy on all the high fat foods because you're also probably going too heavy on the carbs that night too from
Mm,
the sugars.
makes sense. So if we're going to approach it from a strategy point, we see the spread, we go for the veggie platter first, right? And then maybe load up on the green
Mhm.
beans and things on the side. What's next? The protein, like let's say if there's a chickpea heavy platter or the turkey, is that what we go for next?
That would be, yeah, the second thing that you would go for. Just because the protein, if you think about it, if you're suppressing that neuropeptide Y, you're going to feel more full, you're going to suppress the appetite. So by the time, the pasta dish comes around or the pie, you're already full and satisfied. So you're able to have a more controlled appetite where you enjoy the dessert, but you don't feel the need to go overboard with the dessert.
Oh, I love that. Is there a certain amount of time you should wait after you eat your veggies and your protein before you are allowed to go after the cornbread or the mashed potatoes?
I mean, I don't want to put a certain time limit on anyone just because when you're at a party, you don't want to be overthinking it too much. I usually tell people, if you're mixing it all together as a bowl, that's okay too. Um, but I usually, when it's on my plate, I kind of follow that order of, okay, I'm going to eat the vegetables first and then dig into the protein and then dig into my carb and starch.
I love that. That's actually such a simple strategy. Everyone can do it. I'm almost thinking of like making an infographic where you sort of you see the clock ticking, but you're like veggies first, protein next, and then go for it. If you have any room,
Yeah.
I doubt you will have any room for it, then go for the cornbread.
Well, I always tell people, like, think about it. Like, let's say somebody brings cake and it's in the office staff room. If I go and I get some protein first or eat a little snack before of nuts before I eat that, I end up eating, less of it. But if I go into the staff room and I'm absolutely starving, I might have like 2 or 3 brownies because that sugar, I want to keep going back for more.
Yeah, it's so incredibly addictive, and then that's sort of it sort of shows like evolutionarily that we haven't really evolved that far because if you have a bite, that's how you go off the rails, right? You're like, I need this energy, I'm so hungry, and you want to bring your blood sugar up to a certain amount of time, but you don't feel it for 20 to 30 minutes. So then you just keep going
Exactly.
until you get sick. So that makes a lot of sense. What a great strategy. I love this. I have to start implementing. If I was going to get a tattoo, it'd probably be that, like right here on my wrist. Veggies first, protein
Right.
second, third, the carbs.
Exactly. I always tell myself too, like FOMO, like fear of missing out of the foods, is more of a drive sometimes to eat things that you normally wouldn't eat. So I tell people, hey, feel free to take it to go. You can always have something tomorrow. There's always going to be the next holiday party. Just because you don't try something that night doesn't mean you're never going to have it ever again in your life.
That's so smart. That's such a great way to look at it. It's just like bring a little Tupperware container or something. You're absolutely right. I actually get that sometimes because I think, oh, someone spent all this time and all this love, and I'm not appreciating enough by not eating enough. But if you ask, your host nicely, can I take a little of this to go? Or usually they're pushing it on you when you're
Yeah,
leaving.
they usually want you to take it home.
Yeah,
But
that's right.
again, be kind of cautious with that because if you're the type of person who, when you get home, you're going to end up eating all the leftovers that night that you brought home, that might not be beneficial. So it might be a better option to say, okay, I'm only going to put what I want on my plate. So let's say, ooh, I want to try every single dessert that's here. Feel free to cut a smaller slice of everything and just take a few bites and try everything. And the ones that you absolutely love, go back and finish off a few more bites of that one. But the ones that you're like, it's not worth it, or it was good but not as good, feel free to say no to it, and you don't have to finish everything on your plate.
Yeah, it's true. One of my favorite food coaches, she actually has a food delivery service that's like Michelin quality. But for her rule for dessert is she actually only ever has one bite only. But she gets to taste everything because her palate's
Well,
so
that's good. Then
good.
she can try everything.
He can. So I need like four friends like that with the same strategy as me. So we each get to taste one bite, and then we don't waste anything, but we don't go any further than that
Right?
one bite.
Yeah, get a group of like 5 people, everybody gets a different dessert, and everybody just takes a bite and finishes off all the dessert.
I love that. What a great idea. All right, so you're coming with me, right?
Yeah, exactly. Take me with you.
So here's the next question. So what should you eat the day after? Because after one of these holiday spreads, holiday parties, usually people feel like they almost have like a food hangover. I definitely felt that in Texas when I just got back from. I don't ever eat like that normally, so I didn't even drink any alcohol. But the next morning, after they took me to Texas barbecue, the next morning I felt hungover. I really felt that way. So what do you think is
Yeah,
the
you
best?
feel a little groggy, or you feel like really ravenous after that because you did have higher carbohydrate intake than normal. So when
Mhm.
your blood sugar goes up that high, obviously it's not diabetic levels, but it went up higher than normal. The next day, you kind of, your body wants to be in that same range. And so I always tell people, have like that protein rich breakfast, like go for the filling omelet, or make like a big green smoothie that you have like a good protein powder in, just because that'll help set you up for a day of balanced blood sugar so you can get back on track almost instantly. Versus, if you have waffles for breakfast, you might just prolong that feeling of needing to constantly snack every few hours.
Oh, very smart. Very smart. So in the same realm of it, I was just thinking, what should you eat the day of a party like that? Because almost everyone I know says, I'm going to starve myself all day and then I'll go ham at the party. So what do you think of that strategy?
So Thanksgiving is always a day that I see people, they eat nothing all day long. And then finally, when Thanksgiving meal comes, they eat everything and then some. And then they feel overly stuffed and they make comments about how like they can't move, that they don't feel good. I would say the best way to actually go about the Thanksgiving day is have a normal sized breakfast in the morning, like have your egg omelet, don't feel the need to restrict. For lunch, have, if you wanted to do something lighter, maybe still do a salad and some grilled chicken, still have a meal in. That way, when you do get to the Thanksgiving meal, you are hungry enough in the sense that, okay, yes, I'm ready to eat, but not ravenous hungry. So then when you build your plate, you can think, okay, can I still do half my plate veggies? Can I do a quarter protein and a quarter carbohydrate? And, find a way to sample everything, but going a little bit heavier on the vegetables because that fiber will fill you up first.
Yeah.
Because honestly, I love feeling good after the meal where, I enjoyed everything, but I don't feel sick.
Yeah, really smart. What does it do to our body physiologically if you starve yourself all day and then you just have like one crazy meal that's like 3,000 calories and like 80 grams of fat?
Well, if you think about it, your body can handle like a certain amount of sugars, protein, carbs all at once. So if you're eating throughout the day, your body goes, okay, cool, I have the calories that I need. I have the protein, the carbs, the fiber, everything that you need. But if you wait all day, you might be slowing down your thyroid metabolism a little bit, or you might be, um, in a sense, kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Like your body just starts to go into this mode of, okay, I'm really, really hungry. You may have eaten throughout the day, like, okay, 500-calorie breakfast, 400-calorie lunch, and then maybe for Thanksgiving, you still go big and you have 800 calories. But throughout the day, that's less calories overall if you did that versus, okay, I didn't eat anything all day and now I just ate, 2,000 to 3,000 calories all in one meal.
Yeah. Yeah, I can
Like
imagine.
that's a lot of insulin for your body to pump out in that one moment.
That's true. That's true. I've actually seen some studies in the past that it actually could be really devastating for some bodies, especially if you tend towards heart disease or you have already have a lot of those biomarkers. that just one meal could do that. So I don't want to scare people. I'm assuming everyone's very healthy, everyone stays in shape. Obviously, if you take products like Smart Press Juice, you understand a lot about nutrition because it's a system of how to eat right. So so I am sending blessings to all of our people that this doesn't happen to you. But I did read before, only one time, that one incidence of a high calorie, high fat, high sodium meal like that could actually trigger things that you really don't want to see in your life. So it's better not to do the binge and the
Yeah.
the
Well, I
starving.
always tell people too, like getting in quality vegetables throughout the day, what you're doing is like all of those sulfur-rich vegetables and cruciferous vegetables, all of those are actually dilating your blood vessels. So the blood vessels, if they're like, you know, pipes, they're getting bigger so that the pressure of the blood flow is less. So it's less blood pressure. It reduces, that risk of, like a high fat meal with a high carb is going to constrict it a bit more because you just have so much sugar going on. That's a lot of inflammation.
That's actually really brilliant strategy. I didn't think about that, but that's exactly what I tell people when they ask me about coffee. People who struggle with anxiety and depression, I get asked a lot, like, what do I do about coffee? What do I do about coffee? And then I tell them, you know what? I have nothing against coffee. However, consider this, right? In the morning, you want your blood vessels to open up because it brings oxygen to our brain. That's how you wake up, and it brings oxygen and opens up all your vessels so that you feel it throughout your body and you have energy to go about your morning and use up the natural cortisol you create in the morning, and then go about your day, have your lunch, and then try coffee after that, because
Yeah.
you've gotten the best you can out of vegetables, because caffeine actually restricts your blood vessels, which seems really contrary, but the caffeine from coffee actually does that, and that's not what you want to do in the morning at all. I want mine to be as open as possible so I can get my
Yeah.
workout in and get the most out of it. And you know
And especially for people who are working out, having like vegetables like beets, which are high in nitric oxide, that really opens up the blood vessels so you can have that good blood flow. So the oxygen is getting to all the muscles that you need while you're working out. And then, even if you are still adamant on having your coffee in the morning, like at least start with the beets or the veggies first, and
Mhm.
then have the coffee like 15 minutes later.
Yeah, okay. That's a really good compromise too, because I know there are some people who want to punch me just for
Yeah.
suggesting something like that. But it took me a couple years, but I was able to kind of wean myself off coffee in the mornings. Also, I've noticed it kind of spiked my anxiety in the mornings a little bit. So I noticed
Yeah.
that beets is like more of a gradual ramp up, and then later in the afternoon I can handle it. But in the morning, I'm like, I'm not my best self if I have that much caffeine in the morning. But that's a really good idea. So, what do you think about then possibly doing something like beets and greens before a Thanksgiving or Christmas meal? Because that opens up your blood vessels, and then
Yeah.
gives you a better chance of processing all that food.
Yeah, plus if you think about it, with your greens mix, you're getting, did you say like 9 or 10 cups of veggies in that
It's about
mix?
5 servings of veggies.
Okay.
Last time we studied
But
it. Hmm.
that's super awesome because if you think about it, all that fiber is going to be making that gel-like substance in your stomach. So you're going to end up eating less overall for that holiday meal.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So it's like sort of a double, it does double duty. It helps open up
Yeah.
your blood vessels so your heart stays healthy, even though you're gonna have a calorie fat heavy meal. And then you're also fuller beforehand. So you'll do a little less damage. We should come up with, actually, I have a couple. Like, I was just thinking, like, maybe some holiday cocktails. So you're drinking your greens or your beets while you're eating the meal. That could work too.
That might be fun. Yeah. Because honestly, people still want to have fun when they go to the holiday party. So it's finding a way to just balance everything.
Yeah, yeah, it's true. It's always all about balance. I know one other thing we were talking about right before this was inflammation, and that you had a lot of thoughts because the holidays really creates a lot of inflammation with the stress that we all experience with how busy we get, along with immunity concerns as well as the food we're eating. So it's like it becomes like an inflammatory cascade. So I know you had some thoughts about that.
Yeah. So the inflammatory response is really big when it comes to eating refined sugars. So usually like when blood sugar is higher, you're maybe snacking on the leftover Halloween candy throughout the day. That provides a lot of inflammation in the body. So a lot of my patients will complain about like, okay, joint pain is worse now that they're eating a bunch of sugar, or they'll even feel it, with, it decreases immunity. You start getting more colds and flus just because you're more susceptible. I
Sure.
always tell people, okay, this is a great time to try to reduce that sugar intake as much as possible. Try to eliminate it if you can, but really go for the foods that are going to be high in the nutrients that boost immunity. I know magnesium is high in veggies, vitamin E, zinc is another great one. And so if you can get in all these different fruits and veggies, you are getting all these vitamins into your daily diet. They don't even realize that you're getting in that help with immunity.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, that's a really wonderful thing to think about is that we get so many of our nutrients just through a really healthy, balanced diet. And even now, as you know, me and all the business people that I was just with, as we're all sick, I tested negative for COVID, but I think it might be the RSV thing, it's like a cold, really bad cold that's going around. I think that's what it is, just judging from everyone's symptoms. Like people are coughing really bad, they have chest tightness. But I'm really lucky. I'm okay, knock on wood, but I'm pretty great. I'm a week into it. Some people feel like they're getting worse right now, and I feel like so much of what's helped me is just because I keep my veggie intake really, really high. Yesterday I was feeling a little woozy, also just because of woman problems. And this is my prescription for myself. I always buy a bag of baby kale, organic baby kale from Trader Joe's, and I boil the whole thing and just in water. I blanch it just for like 10 seconds and I pull it out and then I just pour balsamic vinegar on it and I eat the entire bag.
Ooh,
So it's almost a pound. I know it sounds crazy, but that seems to knock anything out. Like whatever it is, it
well,
knocks it out. It's like such a
that's going to
weird
be,
thing to do.
no, that's going to actually work the most, because what you're doing is you're getting all this like glutathione from your kale, and then having something like a balsamic vinegar or even like apple cider vinegar or some sort of vinegar, that's also going to help decrease like blood sugar a little bit. So what you're doing is you're, in a sense, decreasing inflammation in the body.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense as to why it helps. It's just my panacea for everything. Women problems, mood problems, a cold,
Right.
boil a bag of baby kale for 10 seconds. That's something I learned from if you watched there was all these plant-based documentaries a while back, but I was really lucky to have a lot of those doctors as my professors while I was taking nutrition courses from the plant-based nutrition course from Cornell. And that was the prescription that Dr. Estelson gave for people whose arteries, like he was showing, the scans of arteries that were like pinched shut. There were like tiny little lines. And then he was showing this a good artery should be like this fat, on the scans. And there's like these tiny little lines, and they're like, yep, this is gonna be heart surgery for sure. This is a bypass for sure. But then he had these people on it for just 90 days. He made them boil an entire bag of greens, and they had to eat it with vinegar 3 times a day, and that's all he had them do was that. And then he had them on a whole food plant-based diet, but he also made them do that. That was his pill instead of a statin or anything. And then
Yeah.
he showed the scans 90 days later of the arteries that started opening up again without bypass surgery. And he was
Oh, that's
saying
awesome.
he was saying like people go, oh, that's a really extreme diet. I couldn't do that. And he's like, what's more extreme, me opening up your heart or eating a bag of veggies 3 times a day? So that alone,
Right. I'd rather have food be my medicine.
yeah, exactly. But that was such a mind-blowing scan that I saw. I was like, I believe I'm going to do that the rest of my life. So I know that sounds really like a really weird thing to do for the holidays, but if you guys ever find yourself feeling really ill afterwards, I really recommend that. Well, thank you so
Well,
much.
no, it's a great way too, because, oh, yes,
No, go
thank
ahead.
you. Oh, I was just gonna say, if like you notice, okay, hey, it's building up, I'm eating a ton of sugar these past few weeks, I just need a break, and you know you're not going to any parties for the next 3 days, it might be helpful to say, hey, I'm just gonna have like 3 days of like a cleanse where I'm eating a ton of vegetables, because
Yeah.
you're giving your liver that break to kind of just detoxify.
Yeah. No, that's a really good idea too, incorporating a cleanse. Yeah, actually that's another really good question to for me to ask you is so during the holidays, like how often should people try something like a cleanse? Because I do get that question a lot is like, should I do it once a week, 1 day a week? Should I do a 3 day cleanse every month? Should I just do a 7 day cleanse like once a month? Like what do you think is optimal, especially during this season?
So I think it's like I would base it based on what's realistic for you to do. If
Mhm.
you know you're going to a lot of parties and you don't want to be the odd one out holding your like green drink, maybe save the cleanse for a different weekday. But I think cleanses are a great way to just like reset taste buds and gut microbiome. The more you eat sugar, the more you're feeding all those good, like bad gut microbiome. And that's usually when you're more like craving the sweets, more susceptible to inflammation and low immunity. But if you can spend a few days, maybe like 1 or 2 days of just getting in all these great veggies, like your skin's going to look better, you're going to feel more alert and energized, you're going to, have that higher immunity. You'll actually crave sugar less. I don't know if you've ever done like a 7 day cleanse, but after the 7 days, you're like, wow, celery tastes sweet to me.
Yeah, that's a huge thing that I've noticed when people saying that. Like I used to hate veggies, but now like tasting like the Starbucks coffees that they used to have, they're like it's agonizingly sweet. I can't handle it anymore. And that's one of the coolest things is how it rebalances like your taste buds.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, thank you so much for your time and all your wisdom. I actually think I want to like interview you more if you don't mind. I'd love to start featuring you more because you're such a fountain of just with nutrition wisdom and you know the technical sides, which is really, really fun. There's a lot of Instagram nutritionists out there that I talk to frequently, and it's they don't have the depth of knowledge you do, especially in like the physiology of what's happening. I remember even one time you were telling me that we don't just have taste buds in our mouth, we actually have them in our gut also. So that was I've actually never heard that before. But I always remembered that. I was like, that's amazing. I didn't know even our gut could crave things. So, it's
Uh,
an example of all the knowledge you have.
well, thank you. This was really fun. And honestly, I would love to just talk more if you ever have the chance or opportunity. I would love to do that.
I love it. We'll definitely do it more regularly. Do you have any last minute tips? I know I've been asking you all the questions myself, but do you have anything else you'd like to share?
I think just the take home for everybody would just be the darker the vegetable, the more nutrients it has. So if you're really looking to increase, the amount of like minerals and vitamins you're getting, like don't go for the iceberg lettuce, go for the dark kale, the spinach, the spring mix, the darker vegetables.
I love that. I love that too. That's super, super important. And another thing I learned is um even though I know a lot of us and I'm guilty of it sometimes is like when you get veggies and you peel off the outer layers and throw it out, that actually has the most amount of nutrients. So it's all concentrated near the edge, near the peel of whatever it is. Like for onions, for instance, like the most amount of quercetins, like the outer layer. So don't throw those
Yeah.
out. So, and I've been doing that. So
Well, a fun way to like do that is like think about it. You're not going to eat the peel of a lemon or an orange. So
Mhm.
usually I'll take all those peels and you can cook them down in some hot water and make a tea with it. So feel free to
Oh.
save all those things and use them in a different way where you're not eating them directly, but maybe allowing it to kind of simmer in the water.
Oh, that's a great idea. Oh, I'm always learning so much from you. I love it. Thank you so much, McKenna. Well, I will contact you again really soon, especially because I do get a lot of questions all the time from our customers, and I actually think that you actually provide such a unique perspective. So I'd love to definitely talk with you more.
Okay, yes. And if you want show notes, I can send over a few of my notes in case you want some text of information.
Oh, absolutely. I love these things. So I'll be doing a write-up from this talk for our blog, and I'll definitely share your information for our listeners also who might actually want to contact you directly. Do you do like e-health consultations by any chance, or do they have to come in to visit you in your clinic in San Diego?
I know they don't have to come in. We do have a program here where it's just nutrition only.
Mm,
So
okay.
if they wanted to do, that telehealth, I can meet with them on Zoom and, go through a whole, we meet once a week. It's 45-minute appointments. I counsel you through nutrition. So it's not just giving you information, it's actually helping you reach your goals. And then we do here in person. The doctor works with like bioidentical hormones. Dr. Fontaine really will look at heart health and like cognitive risk factors and all these different things to really maximize your health and be a more preventative, like holistic, whole person approach.
I would love that. Everyone needs that in their life. So that's great. And then so if they want to find you, it's fontainemd.com, right?
Yes. And I will also send you the link.
Okay, perfect. And I will link that here too for our YouTube and our blog. So thank you so much, McKenna, for your time today again. And happy holidays and good luck to everyone. I hope you use the tips that you learned from her today.
Yes. Thank you. Bye, Annie.